Hello everybody, it's Technique Tuesday, so I'm just coming to you live. I posted this card earlier, and I just wanted to share with you all how I made it. So this technique here is called acrylic block stamping, and I've actually used a couple of different techniques here. I've also used a masking technique, so I'll just show you how I made this cute little card. This stamp set that I used is called Snowfront, and it basically looks like almost like watercolored images for a snowy scene. So you got your little trees and birds to put in the tree, and a snowman and a house and mountains, etc. And because this saying is strictly images and there's no sayings, I'm going to pair it with Itty Bitty Christmas, and I like this stamp set because you get a lot of different sayings and they're just cute and small, so that's why I like that one. Okay, so I'll show you how I made this card. So our base for our card is your standard A4, so it measures 5.5 inches by 8 inches, sorry, and it's scored down the middle at 4 1/4. And you're just gonna fold that in half and burnish it with your bone folder, just like so. And there's your base. And then you're gonna want a strip of real red cardstock. This measures 2.5 inches by 5.5 inches, and this will be the base for your panel. And then for your panel, you're going to want a piece of Whisper White cardstock that measures 2 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And now I'll show you how I created that little technique here. So what you're going to want to get out is your rubber Stampin' Up! Mat. If you don't have this little mat, it's relatively cheap. It's in the annual catalog, and it works great for when you're using our embossing paste, or if you're going to make a mess, or in this case I need a little give. I don't want a super hard surface to be stamping on. It helps you get a really clean, crisp image. So to get our blocks, I'm just going to slide this down a little bit. I'm going to bring in our ink pad. So I've got some old olive ink, and I've got some crushed curry and real red. And I've got real red in the middle, so I'm just, see if I can get all this in the frame here for you. Okay, so I'm going to take one of our tinier blocks. This is our B acrylic block, and you're just going to stamp it right in your middle color. Let's see how the block's now red. Now you're just going to line it up on your panel, somewhat center, and press down. Sorry if the camera shakes. And then just lift straight up. So that's how you get your acrylic stamping. Now your block's pretty messy, and I find the best thing to clean a block is a baby wipe. So I keep a little stash of baby wipes in my craft room for things like this. Okay, so now we'll do one of our other colors. So I'll put it in the old olive. We'll put this one on the left. Really push down, try to get full coverage there, just like that. Again, I'm going to take my baby wipe off my acrylic block. And then we'll go into the crushed curly. And on the right, like so. Perfect. Just going to wipe off my block so I can use it to mount some of my stamps. Okay, and we aren't going to need these anymore, so before I put my card into the ink, because I tend to do that often, I'm just going to close them all and set them aside. For anybody who hasn't used our ink pads before, this is how they work. So they kind of pop out and they flip. And they open the same way. Alright, so now I'm going to get our Snowfront stamp set out. And on the far right here, I'm going to put some little naked trees, I like to call them. So I'm just going to mount that onto my block. Slide this up here. Now I want to keep my images just within my little colored rectangle that I've created. So to do that, I'm going to get out my handy dandy Post-it notes. So this technique is called masking. And this is so that I am protecting any part of the card I don't want to stamp on. So, you know what? I think I'm only going to need 2. So let me just do one on either side. If you had a larger image and you were going to go over on all 4 sides, you could definitely use 4 sticky notes, but I don't think I'm going to need it. Okay, and then I'm just going to get our Memento ink pad and ink up our stamp, and I'll put them right about here. Just like that. Then you carefully peel away your Post-its, and why I use Post-its is because they're sticky, but they're not sticky enough that they should harm your cardstock. As long as you're careful anyway. Okay, so we'll do the middle one. In the middle one, we've got a little cabin and a snowman. So I'm just going to clean off here's my Simply Chamois. Just going to clean off my stamp. Okay, put this one away. I'll get my little cabin on one acrylic block, and I'll put my little snowman on the other. And I'm going to stamp my cabin first. And I'm going to put it right about top right hand side. Just like so. And then I'll do my little snowman down here. And clean these off, my Simply Chamois. And we have one more colored square to decorate. Just like so. And on this one, I used a bunch of the spruce trees and the deer. So I think I'm going to stamp the deer first, because then I'm going to know where I want my trees to be, and my deer are going to be in the foreground. So again, just into that Memento ink pad. And I'll put my deer down here. Clean that off. And I need a big spruce tree. I think there's 3 or 4 different sizes of spruce trees in this stamp set, which is kind of nice because you can layer them, which is what I'm going to do with this one. So that's the biggest one. This is kind of, the next one's like a medium-sized little tree. I'll put it about right there. See how I'm layering them? So you can kind of create your own little forest. And then I'll stamp this one right about there. Perfect. And I'm going to carefully peel off my Post-its and toss them because I don't need them anymore. Perfect. Just going to put my stamps away before I lose it, because I've done that before where I've lost one stamp from the stamp set. And I always find it still stuck on the acrylic block. Of course, right? The last place you think to look for it. Okay, so our little panel is done. So we're just gonna glue this panel to our back panel. And to do that, I'm just gonna get some mono multi-glue. Kind of do an outline and a squiggle, because this glue works really, really, really well. But gives you a little bit of wiggle room, so when you place it, you can kind of move your cardstock around until you're happy with how it looks. Okay, perfect, just like that. Now I'm going to put this away. I'm going to bring my card base out, and I'm just going to open the card base. And at the bottom here, I want to put my sentiment, so that's why I'm opening it. Before I do, well, actually, you know what? Let's kind of put my panel where I want it to sit. So roughly in the middle, about there. Then I'm going to get my saying. So this one says, celebrate the season. And this is from that itty bitty Christmas stamp set. And I'm just going to put it in my Memento ink. And stamp it in the bottom right. Just like so. And clean it off. And I'm not going to need my ink anymore, so again, before I put my card in it, I'm just going to put it away. Okay, and to attach my panel onto my front of my card, I'm just going to pop it up with some dimensionals. Now, you don't have to, but I always feel like I have to have a popped up element on my card. And this style of card is called a clean and simple card, where most of it is white, and then you have sort of like one image that stands out. Clean and simple. Perfect, just like that. Fold that again, and there you go. So there, we're done our card. How fun is that? Acrylic block stamping and masking. Such a fun technique. If this one's too simple for you, I did make an alternative using some little snowflakes. Now this is from a retired stamp set that I have. And then the same celebrate the season, but with this one I added a little bit of DSP. And I don't know if you can see, but I've added some snowflake adhesives just to make it fancier. But yeah, you can use that technique with any color really. And it doesn't have to be the tiny block. You could use a much bigger block. Or if you find you're not getting enough ink on the block, you can spritz it with some water and still do that stamping technique. You can also take your acrylic block into the ink and smush it side to side, and then you'll kind of get like a swirly pattern when you stamp. Lots of options with this one. Oh, thank you so much, Celine. I do think it's cute as well. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope you enjoyed Technique Tuesday, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a good night.